Hello all you cool cats and kittens, Carol from Big Cat Rescue here, and today we've got several delicious hot fried slices of delicious wrestling hashtag good afternoons. We're of course working from home, so we can't have the fancy graphics, but you can imagine it, that's where it would be. Coming up for you today is Christian, coming back to WWE. We'll tell you what he thinks several WWE stars are annoyed that they're losing matches, and Shayna Baszler's in trouble again for being a bad girl on Twitter. But I'm also, you'll be pleased to hear, joined by none other than Adam Nicholas.
Hello, that's me. I guess that's my cue. I also have some news stories today, Adam Cleary, and these include that this week's live Raw was one of the lowest drawing viewerships in the history of the company. Can you believe it? Also, UFC fighter Colby Covington has said he has got an interest perhaps in coming to WWE. We've heard that before, but more on that in just a second. However, opening the news today, Adam Cleary, put your earbuds in if you don't want to know, because we've got some potential spoilers for Money in the Bank 2020. Now, these are coming from the Wrestling Observer. Now, obviously, I know we're all super excited about Money in the Bank because these shows definitely should still be going on and everything is correct in the world right now. However, I'm not here to speculate. I'm here to talk about the news and potentially I say I'm not here to speculate and then say potentially. That's a good follow, isn't it? Big report here from the news. We've got Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins potentially to be one of the top matches on that card, because ultimately Dave Meltzer believes that is the match that could be going forward with. We saw the little tease on Monday Night Raw with Rollins stopping on I'm bloody drunk on Drew's head. It's all going to be a bit interesting. They basically look like big and little brother, those two, but I hope they can figure it out. And another match that is potentially set for that same card, according to Meltzer, is the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders in a tag team match. Adam Cleary, are you excited about those matches?
I think surely the biggest spoiler of Money in the Bank is that it can't be allowed to happen. Like, all this stuff's coming out at the minute about precisely why WWE is being allowed to continue. We'll do that in more depth later on, and it's just I think they can't actually go ahead with a live pay-per-view. I mean, I know they've been classified as essential service, and I know we shouldn't be going on about this, but surely the gap between now and Money in the Bank is sufficient that somebody's gonna wake up and realise what a bad idea this is. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, Seth versus Drew seems like a natural sort of title for you to have, although I'm not sure if he's the most obvious number one contender after he got beat at WrestleMania, but I am definitely here for Street Profits versus Viking Raiders. That will be a clash of very different visual styles, I think.
Absolutely. And follow-up question, because I've seen this floating around, do the rounds. Could possibly Seth Rollins beat Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank?
He could, of course he could. Anything can happen in the exciting, unmissable, laugh-a-minute world of WWE, but I think... Right, so I'm not going to get into all the depth of the American War of Independence, but I'm fairly sure if Britain gets its first WWE champion and then it drops the belt to Seth Rollins a month later, despite having never wrestled in front of a single person with the thing, I think there'll be diplomatic problems that will likely be solved with weapons. But yeah, anyway, speaking of diplomacy, I want to get off this subject straight away. Yeah. Speaking of diplomacy, WWE have been undiplomatic in how they've been handling a couple of their stars lately. You see, I've still got the segues.
Smooth.
A number of stars have complained that they were getting beat on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. In some cases, not even getting a shot in the first place. Now, Nia Jax, she did return. I'm sure you couldn't have missed that. And she beat Kairi Sane, to which Kairi Sane tweeted this. Hang on, I've got it here somewhere. Kairi Sane was like, never give up. I've lost the opportunity, etc., etc. But thank you for I'm going to work hard, and people who are supporting me, hashtag never give up, hashtag Raw. She also said, fall 7 times, get up 8, which people have, construed as, with a contract situation coming up, there might be a bit of an issue there. They're not willing to really give her any kind of look in. Obviously, they've now lost the women's tag team titles, and it looks like Asuka is the one who's going to be in that match. So there could be a little problem there with the contract stuff coming up. But this is the best one by a mile. Mandy Rose, Liv Morgan? I'm all over the place this morning. Liv Morgan, who really, really wanted to be in that match. If you were following it, she would tweeted loads over the past week how much she wants to be in that Money in the Bank ladder match. She just tweeted, after she was overlooked for a spot, I wanted it, 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 I wanted it. And I think, reading between the lines there, she wanted it. Adam Nicholas?
I'm not so sure she wanted it, you know. I don't know if she wanted it. I'm not getting that vibe from that at all.
Maybe she wanted it, but did she want it enough? That's the thing I'm getting from that. There's like a good 8 characters left there in that tweet.
That's a lot of times saying that you wanted it, and I think, well, that's how it works, isn't it, in WWE? I mean, that's how The Rock and Stone Cold went to superstardom. They just fervently said, I wanted it, I wanted it, I wanted it. And Vince was like, well, you can't argue with the commitment of the bit. Yeah, this is interesting that people are getting their nose put out of joint. People I feel who maybe need a reality check on where they are in the company. Possibly, is that fair?
I think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, the full lineup for Money in the Bank hasn't been revealed yet. There is every chance this could be just part of what they're doing for the storylines, and both Zayn and Morgan could end up in that match. But given that one of them has lost a qualifier, don't get me wrong, I agree that some people probably need a reality check for where they are in the company, but if you're Kairi Sane, you've delivered in every single thing you've ever been asked to do, you're a sensational performer, you're certainly going to be more talented than some people who end up in that match, and if you Liv Morgan, you just got this huge big return push in which you did nothing wrong with the material you were offered, and now they've forgotten about you again already. So, two sides to this. I think, yeah, nobody's got a God-given right to be in any particular match, but on the other hand, you know, if they're not going to use you, right? Oh, should they be using you at all?
Just got my hand up here, sir. Just quick.
Yep.
Just wanted to say that I would like to point out I was in no way referring to Kairi Sane there. Whoop, there goes my headphones. And that's the news, everybody. The news is Adam Nicholas doesn't know how to wear headphones. Shall we move on to our next story, Adam Cleary?
Let's please.
Okay, Monday Night Raw. Let's talk about that a little bit more. You've already said we've had a few disgruntled people. Well, apparently, we had a few disgruntled audience members too. Because as will come as no surprise to anyone, WWE's numbers have been falling like crazy recently.
No.
Obviously, a lot of the shows have been pre-taped. This was the first one back that was going to be live in quite some time, and it didn't do as well as they were hoping, I imagine. Our source for this one is Showbuzz Daily, and they've reported the figures from this week's viewing numbers. I'm just going to go through a bunch of them here. The show as a whole drew an average of 1.913 million viewers on the USA Network against last week's 2.118 million viewers, so a significant drop there. And this is the third lowest non-holiday Raw viewership in the company's history. But I know what you're thinking.
Wow.
Only the third. They've not won any records there. Well, you'd be wrong because because don't worry, they've still smashed a few records here. They managed to record the record lows for non-holiday viewership on both the first and second hours of Monday Night Raw, with hour number 3 just managing to escape there. But the numbers were as follows. For the first hour of Raw, they drew 1.994 million viewers. The second hour drew 1.913 million viewers. And the third hour drew 1.832 million viewers. So if you're sitting at home and you love your stats, you'll probably be able to deduce that that is nicht gut.
I think the major takeaway from this, the one you've somehow missed there, is that Raw's viewership has now fallen below the number of subscribers WhatCulture Wrestling has.
Hey, there it is.
Making us the big league.
Still got it, baby. Still got it.
This is obviously disastrous news for the company. It's obviously disastrous news for the company, but again, as we said at the top of this show, these shows should not be going ahead. I mean, even putting aside the safety issue, the healthcare thing in the midst of all this, Florida being in the midst of a statewide lockdown and them still pursuing these shows, there is now the fact that is slowly becoming apparent to the company that they can't put on shows of the quality that people want to watch. Like, even if you took out the safety concerns, if you took away all the health stuff, it's now just not that good a product. Everything has to be improvised, everything has to be done on the fly. There's no atmosphere, there's no like structure to anything. Like, honestly, what is Austin Theory thinking in all of this? This is like the biggest opportunity he's ever going to get. And every week they just go, right, we need a warm body for something, throw Austin Theory in. It's just, they've got just like, if the reality of the situation isn't going to wake them up to this, how low do these viewing figures have to drop before they realise it's a bad idea?
I don't think the viewing figures will hit a number low enough for them to stop, because knowing the company, they will keep going, and whether or not that's because they're being pressured into by the networks or not, this is going to continue to happen. And even worse, we've had Vince now backed up, as the other fellas will have told you in the other news. Vince McMahon has been backed as an essential, what is it? An essential something or other?
Essential service.
Essential service to the country as a whole, for the economy of both Florida and I assume America too. That is terrifying. And yes, shall we move on to the next story, please?
Yeah, let's rattle through the other ones as quick as we can. A lot of people, it will not have missed your attention. Ronda Rousey tweeted the other week saying some rubbish about wrestling not being real and MMA being real and it's not like a real fight, etc, etc. Whereas everybody knows UFC is completely fake, etc, etc. However, this is clearly a work on Ronda Rousey's part. She's a genius. She's one of the best in the industry. She's just working everybody up so they remember who she is. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant way to handle the media and handle the fans, in my opinion. But some people took it as being real and got really, really angry about it. And Shayna Baszler, not one who is shy of a controversial tweet, tweeted out the following: "You think you know what real is? Capitals for real. Hashtag reality. Hashtag kayfabe." Now, this is... yeah, when you're Ronda Rousey and you're currently not on television and you've made your point in the way you've made them, you can probably get away with saying that. However, when you're Shayna Baszler, who is currently on Monday Night Raw and was just at WrestleMania and is not currently Ronda Rousey, is kind of a bad look, and she deleted that tweet fairly swiftly. As to whether she's done that of her own accord, because you know what it's like, sometimes you'll tweet something and you'll sit there and go, "Ooh, I might delete that," or whether the company have been on the blow and been like, "Ari, Shayna, yeah, you're gonna have to take that down. I'm afraid there's a big swear word in it." So that's gone down. Now, whether or not this is all part of some storyline, everybody else is trying to speculate this. You know, we all do want to see the 4 Horsewomen versus the 4 Horsewomen at some point, and this is effectively Shayna going into bat for Ronda on social media, so that could be leading into that, or it could just be an outburst, as wrestlers are prone to do. You will remember she told someone's dad, didn't she, a couple of months ago, that he should threaten to withhold his son's tablets or something like that because she didn't care that he got upset that she said the S word on television. So Shayna, bit of a loose cannon when it comes to social media, so this isn't a totally shocking story.
Seems like she might have been taking lessons from the Seth Rollins school of Twitter, perhaps. But I think...
that's a school.
Most interesting here is that obviously there's a very good chance this could be a work. If the company has intervened, that's one thing. These kind of go in massive contrast to tweets that she's prone to do quite a lot, where she tweets about how annoyed she gets at people who say wrestling is fake, which is weird. This is a massive juxtaposition to what we normally see on our Twitter account. Obviously, yes, very good pals with Ronda. Obviously, yes, a high chance this was a work. But if this is just somebody getting wound up and firing out tweets at fans because she's annoyed about what they said about a friend, yep, burn it down, sister. I hope it's a work. I do want to see that 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen match, but I don't know, this just feels to me like somebody was bored in the house and decided to pop off on Twitter. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on, shall we? Stick with UFC, I guess, technically, but we're going to go with somebody else, as we mentioned at the top. Colby Covington, an interesting figure, a very divisive man in the UFC, and also a good pal of Donald Trump, so he'd fit right in over with this lot. But apparently he is keen to explore the avenue of joining WWE. Now, this comes from an interview with MMA Fighting on SB Nation's YouTube channel, and it wasn't a super recent one. It was on April the 9th, but we have only managed to just pick all this up because it's the bank holiday. Everybody's out doing... We were all out doing stuff, weren't we? Yeah? We were out.
Well...
Yeah? No, we weren't. We were all sat in, twiddling our thumbs.
I had a run. That was it.
I had the run. No, I'm only joking. But... we've got a few quotes here from that interview with Covington, basically trying to talk up his chances in WWE. Some interesting ones here, Mr. Cleary. I can't wait to mention one of them to you. He says, I've been practicing moves and really working on my promo and mic skills and just control and slowing things down and understanding the art of wrestling. Now, should be pointed out, obviously, man has legit skills and is, despite the fact he's an infuriating man, very good skills in the octagon and in real life. But this one made me laugh a little bit because he said he wants to make wrestling real again. I want people to get behind it and think it's real. You ain't going off the top rope on me because I'll take you out with a double leg. You ain't gonna get up there. And I would love to see him explain that to Vince when he tells him he's losing that match. He also said if it is gonna happen, it's probably gonna happen in 2021, not this summer, but next. Now, I should point out, I know I have sort of, it fascinates me that people would think they're going to wander into the company and Vince is just going to let them do whatever they want. But this guy is legitimately, as much as it pains me to say, a fantastic promo. The guy comes out to Kurt Angle's music in MMA for like his matches. He comes out to Kurt Angle's music. He's this real pro-Trump guy, basically, is what he is in the ring. He's a very divisive guy. Gets massive heat reactions off the fans in real life. So imagine how much they boom in the WWE ring. And he has already got a bit of previous in wrestling. Turned up on Impact Wrestling once or twice to support his pal Bobby Lashley, Adam Cleary, which you'll be happy to know about.
Oh, that's nice.
Also, 5'11". Well, so that might not work out too great for him on Vince McMahon's roster. What are your thoughts on this man, Adam Cleary?
Well, as he says, he has been practicing moves and working on his promo skills. So by that, I just think he means being in UFC, I assume. The transition a lot of MMA stars seem to make to WWE is seamless these days, almost like they're exactly the same thing. So if he wants to come over to the company, if he wants to come over to a real entertainment, wants to come over to a real sport and give it a go, then all the best to him. I remember, wasn't there some lad did it recently? What was he called? Kane something. He did all right, didn't he? Didn't they give him one of the big matches out in the desert? And I think he lost quite succinctly. But yeah, all the best to them. I'd love to see them give it a go. It's always entertaining. Speaking of somebody who's not in WWE, maybe being in WWE, that's the best I've got. Christian has been talking about the potential for a return to the squared circle. And honestly, this is one of my favourite quotes I'm ever going to get to read out live on a video. Are you ready for this? I'm
excited.
So, obviously with Edge's come back. Obviously with Edge's come back, Daniel Bryan's come back. Pretty much everybody now is kind of on the table. If they can get people in a workable condition, anybody could come back conceivably. And Christian's one of those names people would love to see, especially having just seen Edge come back. And this was his answer on whether or not he will ever compete in WWE again. It's one of those, I'm 46 years old, you know. I had some concussion issues. It's just a matter of, I don't see it happening. I'm medically disqualified. I'm not sure. I just don't see how I would ever get cleared. So there you have it. That's it. That's Now, don't get me wrong. I think if you're trying to illustrate the point that you've had concussion issues, that's precisely the kind of quote that's gonna get your point across. And I would say my 2 cents on this is that if Christian was ever physically able to return, you would undoubtedly have seen it during that Edge versus Randy Orton build. Like, they brought in Matt Hardy, they brought in Beth Phoenix. The heat Randy would have got for going after Christian would have been incredible. I think if he could have done anything in the ring, you would have seen it then. So, based on that babbling, incoherent statement from Christian himself and my application of medical common sense, I am going to rate it a 6 out of 10 chance that we'll see him back before the end of next year. Adam Nicholas?
I would say that if anything has been proven in recent weeks and months is that Saudi Arabia money can fix just about anything, Adam Cleary. And that is my hot take on it today.
Yeah, I've got nothing else on the Christian thing, really. The thing people have to remember is, obviously, I've mentioned Edge and Daniel Bryan there. People who you were told would never, ever be able to return to wrestling have returned to wrestling. But the conditions they had, the reasons they weren't going to return are not the same as what Christian had. So you can't just look at these situations and go, well, they said never for them, so it can't never be never for Christian. So I think this is all case by case. I don't think Christian is in the kind of situation where he's ever going to be able to come back. And as cynical as this is going to sound, the risk versus reward for bringing back Daniel Bryan is worth it for WWE. The risk versus reward of bringing back Edge is worth it for WWE because they were huge stars, like multiple time world champions. And Christian is a bona fide Hall of Famer. He's a legend in the industry, but he's not somebody who's going to come back and go into like a WrestleMania main event worthy program like those two conceivably could have. So I don't think it's something they're going to risk, and I hope if it is a risk, they wouldn't do it in the first place. But that's all I've got.
My thought on the matter is maybe Vince just isn't that into it. I don't know, because he hasn't even put him in he hasn't even put him in the Hall of Fame yet. So probably just not into it.
That's it. Yep. That's probably not anyway. And speaking of not being into it, we have other things to do today, so we're going to wrap up there. Let us know what you made of it all in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to your first hashtag Good After News of the quarantine era, as we're trying to call it. We'll hopefully see you again in a couple of days. But if not, Adam Wilborn and Andy Murray, they'll be back tomorrow morning with all of your regular wrestling news. In the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. My thanks to Adam Nicholas. Where can they get you on Twitter?
They can get me on Twitter at It's Adam Nicholas. And where can they get you on Twitter, Adam Cleary?
They can get me at It's Adam Cleary, CLERY, and the entire WhatCulture wrestling family at your disposal, WhatCulture WWE. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.